Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! It was just another busy Friday night at La Bella Cucina, the Italian restaurant where I work as a manager. The clinks of cutlery, the chatter of happy diners, and aroma of garlic and herbs filled the air. I was making my usual rounds, ensuring everything was running smoothly when a new customer walked in. He was a middle-aged man, sharply dressed with an air of arrogance around him. He didn't wait to be seated, and instead, he chose the best table in the restaurant, which was reserved for another party. "Excuse me, sir," I began politely. "This table is reserved. May I offer you another one?" He scoffed. "Do you know who I am? I'll sit where I please. Give me your best wine and a chef special." I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't budge. Reluctantly, I complied, hoping to avoid a scene. The evening went from bad to worse. The man complained about everything. The wine was too warm, the food was too bland, and he was especially rude to the staff. Each time I apologized and tried to accommodate his demands. Then he crossed the line. He snapped his fingers at Maria, one of our waitresses, and he demanded, "Give me the chef. I need to teach him how to cook." Maria, visibly shaken, nodded and went to fetch the chef. Chef Antonio, a kind-hearted and passionate cook, came out to speak with the man. "Is there a problem with your meal, sir?" he asked politely. "Yes," the man bellowed. "This is unacceptable. I want it remade, and I won't be paying for this trash." Antonio's face reddened. "Sir, I assure you, our dishes are prepared with the utmost care and quality ingredients." "I don't care, do as I say," the man demanded. Frustrated, Antonio returned to the kitchen. I tried to calm the man down, offering a discount, but he was furious. He stood up, knocking his chair over, and he started yelling, attracting the attention of the entire restaurant. "This is the worst restaurant. I'll make sure it gets shut down," he threatened. It was then that another customer who had been quietly observing stood up. "Sir, you're causing a scene. Please sit down." The man turned towards him. "Mind your own business." The situation was out of control. I had no choice but to call the police. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. "What seems to be the problem here?" one officer asked. Before I could respond, the entitled man shouted, "I am being harassed by these incompetent fools." The other patrons started speaking up, telling the officers what had really happened. The officers listened to both sides, they spoke with the staff and other customers, and it became clear who was at fault. "Sir, you need to calm down or we will have to take you in for disturbing the peace," one officer warned the man. Instead of calming down, the man became even more aggressive, pushing one of the officers and trying to punch him. And that was the last straw. The officers handcuffed him and led him out of the restaurant. After he was gone, I apologized to the patrons and offered them complimentary desserts. My husband and I have always been the kind to lend a helping hand. So when his brother and his girlfriend needed a place to stay, we didn't hesitate. Big mistake, as we would soon find out. Husband's brother and his girlfriend weren't exactly the best house guests. They had a knack for breaking every rule we set. The last straw was when they borrowed our car without our permission. Husband and I decided it was time for them to go. We were packing up their stuff when my husband found something alarming in one of their bags. A tiny baggie with white powder. We had no choice but to call the police. The officer confirmed our worst fears. It was an illegal substance. My husband was furious, and he told his brother and his girlfriend they were permanently banned from our house and our car. Fast forward a few days, husband was about to take our son to the bus stop when he realized our car wasn't in the parking lot. Panic ensued and he called the police to report the stolen vehicle. The brother then texted, claiming he had used the car to go for a court-ordered drug test. But how did he get the car? Well, we soon realized the spare key was missing from my purse. When we confronted the brother, he said he left the car near the courthouse. A quick check with the police proved that was a lie. Days passed with no sign of our car, then we got a call from the police. They had found our license plate on another car during an arrest. Turns out the brother had sold our car to a junkyard for a measly $350. The junkyard had stripped it of its exhaust system and sensors. The police acting on our report, the evidence of the illegal substance, and the CCTV they found, which shows he the thief and a druggie. They arrested him. He was charged with theft and possession of illegal substances. The court denied him bail due to his record and flight risk. So, he was remanded to jail. I, 28 female, find myself in a really tough spot and need some honest opinions on what I should do. My sister, 25 female, is getting married soon and my entire family is ecstatic. But I'm not. Her fiancé, 30 male, stole a business idea from me a few years ago and I'm seriously considering skipping the wedding because of it. Backstory: I've been working on a unique business concept for a few years, and I told my sister about it. I thought we were close. Fast forward a bit and lo and behold, her fiancé launches the same damn business, basically stealing my idea and profiting off of it. This scheme is what is funding most of their wedding, for your information. I confronted them both about it and they played dumb, acting like it was just a coincidence. And they had no idea. I was furious, hurt and betrayed, but for the sake of the family, I decided not to press the issue any further. Now the wedding is approaching and my parents are pressuring me to attend after I mentioned to them that I want to skip it. They argue that family comes first and I should set aside my grievances for the sake of my sister's big day. On the other hand, I feel like attending would be a slap in the face, as I feel it would signal that what they did is forgivable and that I'm okay with being walked all over. So am I the jerk for wanting to skip my sister's wedding over this? Should I put aside my feelings and be there for her? Or is it fair for me to take a stand against what feels like a major betrayal? I am torn. Edit for information. A few of you really wanted to know what the business idea was. Well, I can't go into detail as it's pretty niche, would be easy to look up and find out a bit too much personal information on my brother-in-law. I can tell you though, it was an app idea. It's identical to the idea I was working on. Also, some people are defending my brother-in-law by saying that I wasn't going to go through with it. I have been taking part-time entrepreneurship classes at a local college. I was teaching myself how to build an app at the time. I told my sister about it and showed her what I was working on. He stole the idea before I had the chance to go through with it and sold it to his buds. Now he co-owns it. I think it's also important to know that I dabble in photography. And from conversations with my parents, it sounds like my sister wants me to photograph her wedding for her. But I have not heard anything about the intended payment for photographing her wedding. So by not going, not only would I be causing a bit of drama, I'd also be leaving them without a photographer, according to my mom. I never agreed to photograph. This was apparently assumed by my sister. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying you're not the jerk. This is based on taking you at your word that they ripped off a unique idea, making it hard for you to now use the idea for yourself without being in direct competition and looking like the one copying their business, putting you behind the 8 ball from the outset. They did betray you, and going would look like you were signaling that you were willing to let it be water under the bridge. The thing is, jerks count on time healing and hiding all wounds, and they may be counting on it. That you would come around and they will get away with it with no real consequences. You don't have to be pressured into just taking it because the rest of the family wants to celebrate the wedding and pretend that your sister and her soon-to-be husband haven't stabbed you in the back. If you don't want to go, don't go. Tell the family pressuring you that they are all welcome to go but to leave you out of it. Their betrayal is a real and a serious thing and you are not willing to go along with pretending it isn't. Just because acknowledging it is inconvenient when the rest of the family just wants to forget about it and celebrate. Your sister and her soulmate have done nothing to make things right and you're not going to give them a free pass on this level of betrayal. Another commenter goes with, "You're not the jerk." But I want to mention that I once told an old family friend about a niche business idea I'd had for a while. A couple of years later he comes by to tell me of this really cool thing he did. Exactly my idea. He's in the final stages and is super excited. I was mad for a bit, but honestly the man had absolutely no clue he'd heard it from me. He genuinely forgot, but kept the idea somewhere at the back of his mind. And unlike me, he went and did it. So it is possible the fiancé is a complete jerk, or a distracted jerk who really thought he and your sis came up with it. Your feelings are valid either way, because, well, they stole your idea. It all depends on the specifics, the reaction when confronted, and what they are like in other areas. If this is truly out of character, maybe. If hurtful but not that unexpected, well, you can tell better than I can. A third commenter goes with, "You're not the jerk. But as others have said, I think you need to decide if you want a relationship with your sister or not. If you do, then you might have to let it go. It's sad, but that's life sometimes." Side note, a good idea doesn't always mean a successful business. There is no guarantee you would have made money. Running a business is hard, and the initial idea is just the first step in a long, long road. But look on the bright side, OP. If you've had one great idea, well, you can have another one. Backstory: I work in a client services center and handle project planning and oversight. I have privileges and security clearances that even low-level management doesn't have. But I have no authority to delegate tasks or make requests. This is important because a low-level manager can order me to pull client-restricted data they normally don't have access to, while they have to go through their superiors to make this request. Technically speaking, once the request is granted, they can continue to request a restricted access report. It's a loophole that one of the low-level managers fully exploited. Introducing Tammy. She's one of 3 leads for our call center department. Tammy is very much the typical sneaky backstabbing person who has a chip on her shoulder for anyone standing in her way of getting what she wants. She made a series of requests for 2 separate reports. One report would detail one half of a piece of confidential order placement information, while the second report would detail the other half of the order placement information. By themselves, these reports were intended to spot inconsistency errors that might fall through the cracks. For example, show all orders placed from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., but include personal client information on it. The second report shows all orders accepted from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., but includes personal client information B. Tammy then combined the reports as they always match to get both sides of the order placement puzzle. This information was used to access client order pages and change data without the client being on the phone or without the client's knowledge. This is a huge no-no. As these things go, Tammy was discovered going into clients' orders as if she had their permission. Rather than confess to doing anything wrong, she threw me under the bus. OP gave me this information and does so daily. See? Tammy and I were temporarily suspended without pay until the investigation was over. It turns out no wrongdoing was discovered on Tammy's part or my part, and the loophole reports were stopped as they were irrelevant. Because of how the investigation was handled, it went on my permanent record, and my low-level government security clearance that I had earned was given a red flag. It was the equivalent of a major slap on the wrist, but no harm. No foul when it came down to the seriousness of it. Still, for her to throw me under the bus like that, I took it personally as she knew exactly what she was doing. She had me as a scapegoat in case she ever got caught. Nearly a year goes by and I was given a task for some forensic research on a closed-off, highly controlled database. Many department leads were involved, including Tammy, with whom I had little contact after the above incident. I took several painstaking weeks to sift through several 100,000 records. This was supposed to be routine data queries, but I found was different. A massive series of date errors that didn't match up to previously compiled reports taken from the time the orders were active. There were vastly different order placement turn times, most of which seemed to be handled by employees from a certain department led by a certain individual. This wasn't even what I was tasked to find. I just happened to come across it by accident. I reported it to my supervisors and was given the go-ahead to investigate further. It turns out that Tammy and several other leads in her department have been using the client order placement logins to manipulate order placement times weeks after the fact to make them look really good. Because the clients appeared to change the order date, no red flags were raised during the first investigation on active orders. They were manipulating past orders a little at a time. They were the top department for months on end because of this and even received bonuses and recognition. After presenting my thorough findings, our compliance department concluded that several leads/managers were fudging dates to make their departments appear better than they actually were. The result was the termination of a backstabbing individual named Tammy, the demotion of a lead who knew of the deception but didn't say anything, and the third lead had already left the company earlier in this year. I'm told that Tammy is also being sued for the bonuses and rewards she earned under false pretenses. The bonuses were over $5,000 for 1 year, which could be grounds for grand theft. I work at a charcoal chicken joint in a small shopping center with about 10 stores in it. The shopping center had a public bathroom on the other side. This is obviously run by center management and the cleaners they hire, and not by our chicken shop, which is on the other side of the complex and does not have a bathroom. A lady comes in with her baby and is absolutely livid. I am talking red with rage. It was just me working there because my coworker and manager called in sick for the day, so I was trying to think back to any mistakes I may have made and came up empty. She finally gets to the counter and starts yelling, telling me that I should be ashamed of myself. I ask her what's wrong and say that I can rectify the issue and I just need her to calm down and tell me the problem. Apparently, she had gone to use a parent bathroom with her baby and there was urine on the floor and baby stuff on a change table, and I need to go and clean it right this minute before someone gets AIDS, and because her baby needs a change. Well, I tell her, sorry, but I just work in a chicken shop. The public complex bathrooms are not my responsibility. I tell her she needs to knock on the cleaner's door opposite the bathroom and they will help. She was huffing about me wasting her time and being entitled, but leaves to go to the cleaner's room. At this point, I think it's all over, but no. About 3 minutes later, she comes back even more livid than before, and she yells, "The cleaner isn't answering. You need to do it now." I tell her I'm sorry, but I do not know where the cleaner is. I don't work under the same management, and again, the bathroom is not my responsibility. She keeps unintelligibly screaming things, so I left to get our record book out back and look at the emergency contacts to find the center manager. I apologize to the lady to try and get her to calm down and offer to call the center manager to see what can be done. I go out back to make the call and the manager picks up and I explain to her I've got a lady screaming at me about a dirty bathroom and I'm working my shift alone and she don't know what to do other than to call. She tells me she will call her cleaner and see what's up. She rings back to tell me the other cleaner didn't show up for his shift and the second cleaner is on break. I hang up and tell the lady that the cleaner will be back within 30 minutes, or she can go to the McDonald's across the street who also has a change table. This is not good enough for her. She reaches behind the counter for a bottle of cleaning spray and literally walks behind the counter to look at the back where she sees a mop. I'm standing there dumbfounded, processing the fact that she just walked behind the counter and she thrust the mop bucket and sprays at me and tells me if the cleaner is not here, it is my responsibility to go and mop it up. I tell her to get out of the kitchen immediately or I will call the police. And she stands there not moving, telling me not until I clean it up. At this point, I'm like, what the hell? And I tell her if your baby can't wait half an hour or the car ride home, go to the McDonald's. I am not cleaning it. My job is to cook fries and chicken and not to clean the amenities of an establishment I work for. She yells no, and so I threaten the police again. She stands there as if to Call my bluff, but I reach for the phone and start dialing. She walks out the door yelling, and I think it's finally done now. Thank God. 10 minutes later, she shows up with a cop saying that I threatened her and her baby. I just gave the cops my statement and the video footage, complete with audio, and they arrested her for trespassing. That was probably the most insane shift I've worked. Keep in mind, while we were not busy at the time, there were customers trying to order and food being cooked the whole time.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.